Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
That means it's the Mark Order Podcast coming to you a little bit late. They started a little bit late. We started a little bit late. I'm glitchy as fuck. Why am I glitchy? Get back to it. Get back to the good internet. It's been so good since I moved back into this office.
You're talking all that stuff. You're talking about I had no situation ever.
I know. It's karma because Joe was having webcam issues, and I was like, I've never had technology issues whatsoever. And now here we are. But we are here at the Mark Order Podcast. I think I'm not too choppy. You can still see me. You can understand what I'm saying, right? We're living. We're dreaming.
Good.
Scheming and dreaming. Doing the best we can. This is the Mark Order Podcast. I am happy to be back after I was tending to some things at good old Fight Club across the way. Our captain over there was tending to some personal issues, so pulled me off of this for a little bit, just helping out with some production over there. And then I come back, and Ryan is like, I was really enjoying when we didn't have to deal with that woman. So there you go. He ducked out. He can't handle the heat when I'm around, and that's not surprising. If you know him, you know me a little bit. It is what it is. But here's what I do know. Stalwart of the brand, Asian Joe, is here. We're doing great, looking great. No tornadoes have taken us out. We are all okay. Joe, how you doing?
Okay. I'm doing well, thanks. I just realized a month from today, I will get to experience my first collision.
You're going to collide for the first time a month from today?
I'm a little bummed that, I don't get to experience the grand stage that they used to have. So that kind of hurts my heart.
Of course, understandable.
I'm just glad that they're finally coming up into our region of the Midwest.
Are you going with anybody?
No.
You're flying solo. Did you get a ticket already?
I did.
Oh, okay. I was going to see if I could give you a sick hookup, but...
I didn't want... They need all the money, people to spend money on their live shows if they can, so I'm doing my part.
Oh, what a supporter! What a supporter! And there's no bad seat for Collision. There's no right or wrong way to collide. It's Collision. It's the greatest brand.
If they let their crowd a little bit better, I could probably get a sign on TV.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I don't think they'd like that. They don't really like that beyond... the floor level, they don't really seem to like that next row up very well. So
it feels like they've been experimenting with that a little bit. So I'm intrigued to see where they end up. I don't need it looking like the Double Dare studio that NXT always ends up looking like, where you can see people's knees. But I do like being able to see more of the crowd. So right. I'm intrigued to see what happy medium they kind of settle into that with. But that's very fun that in a month, our own Asian Joe is going to be colliding. I love that for you.
I'll be really fascinated just to see how the turnout is and trying to get a pulse of what AEW fandom is in this area, since it's the first time in the market. Usually we're a very heavy, WWE market where Raw or SmackDown comes through this area almost twice a year, it seems like.
Okay. Have there been a Dynamite there yet, or no?
No, there had not.
Interesting. Okay, so this is cool. This will be the first time there then.
Yeah, so it's actually over in Iowa. So I have to cross the river into Iowa, but
that's annoying.
It's 12 miles away from my house, so I'm good.
No, okay, so that's not terrible. Well, that's very exciting that you're going to be a Collider. It's a very fun time. Something about it being on a Saturday always makes that show feel like just like a party. The only bummer is you don't get Nigel on commentary when you're there live. That's the only thing. But you can always go back and watch because you're going to want to hear what Nigel has to say, especially if Danielson or Mariah May is booked. But that's awesome. I'm going to try and get to the Allentown taping that is coming up in June. I know it's going to be very special to Ian Riccaboni, the Allentown homer. It's also my cousin's birthday, so I'm hoping I can take him for his birthday. I think that would be really fun. So it's a collision taping, but it's taping on a Thursday. So I'm intrigued to see what that might look like kind of out of the New Jersey area as well. So that should be fun. How's everything else going, Asian Joe? You're safe from the tornadoes.
Yes.
You were kind of on the front end of all these natural disasters that were coming through. You were kind of a trendsetter with this.
I escaped the tornadoes, though, because I was in Denver at that time. So
yeah, wise man. Seeing some music, right?
Yes, and then I'm going down to Kansas City this weekend for some music. So
nice. What are you going to see?
An oldie, better than Ezra.
Hell yeah!
So I hope it's good.
They're really good live.
Yeah, I was going with like song puns.
Who else is on? I missed it.
Yeah, I mean, something good.
Shameful.
There's somewhere I can work. I can weave in a desperately wanting in there somewhere.
You know what it is? It's I've had a couple weeks without Ryan, so it's like it's been so refreshing that I don't have like my pun game shaken off. Because I've never said a pun in my life, not once. So, well, that's fun.
Brody King was in the blood later. No,
it's like, that's right. Who else is on that show?
Oh,
I almost said who else is on the card. That's how entrenched into wrestling I am. That's disgusting.
I have to go back and look. I think we have one opener, I think.
Is it with Bare Naked Ladies?
It is not.
Oh, that's a shame. They're amazing live. They hold a very important part to me.
They come here. They come through this area every summer. So
they're really good.
They are.
So I am also back in my office setup. I don't think I was for the last time I was on this show. But something that's really special about my office setup is I have these figures behind me, and there's so many new people since you got me this show that this is the Alberto Del Rio and Brodus Clay 2-pack that was sent to me by Asian Joe. And if most people sent me this, I would be wildly insulted. But I know where Joe's heart was when he sent me this. But it delights me. It pops me every time I look at it because I have like everybody that I genuinely. I'm not a big figures person, but Matt from the Shining Wizards got me these 2 Eddie Guerrero things for my birthday one year, an Eddie Guerrero figure and a Funko Pop. And then I have the first figure I ever got, which is this CM Punk Nexus figure. And then I have his AEW figure, and not displayed behind me, but across the room is the MJF dog collar set with him, because I was such a Punk gal. And then it just pops me that like Punk and Eddie are both Mount Rushmore wrestlers to me, and these 2 are probably like my Mount Rushmore of get the fuck out of my life. But they sit the highest.
It's the most problematic 2-pack ever.
It really is. It really is like Fox News sexual harassment douchebag and full on like abusive human trafficking. Corrupt Mexican government is the only reason you're not in jail, Del Rio. So it is. This is like the problematic 2-pack. I love that. It's a little problematic tag team of people who fucking suck, but like legit one of the worst wrestlers to ever do this. And then just piece of shit asshole who should be in jail. But it delights me to no end because this was like at the end of the Tyrus reign when I was sent this, and it makes me laugh every time I see it.
Oh, so, Tyrus. He played football at a small college here in Nebraska for a short while.
Did he really?
He did.
Was he better at that?
I don't recall. I don't remember hearing about him ever, so probably not. He probably had bad knees at that time as well.
Probably. I did not realize he was like 50 when he retired, because that was rough. Like he he looks younger than 50, but he wrestles like he's 70, but he's wrestled like he was 70 from the time he was 30 on. So like there's not a lot for me to do with that. But that Tyrus run was rough. It felt like they were trolling us when they made him champion, and NWA never really recovered since. Not since that and the cocaine spot on air. But Joe, let's talk a little bit of wrestling before we get into Dynamite. We are getting closer to Double or Nothing, obviously. I'm sure we'll figure out a time to do a prediction show for you, but card is shaping up. I felt like Dynasty was such a home run. I'm looking forward for Double or Nothing. Dynasty, I felt like, was front to back a somewhat predictable but excellent card. Like, you were getting so much great in-ring. Of course, Danielson and Ospreay stole the night, but you also got, like, KOR and Roddy that was so good. And you had Swerve winning, and you had Willow. So you had some really fun moments in there. This card, I think, is shaping up really nicely. I think you might have your first AEW women's main event ever, which is very cool, because I don't think Christian Cage and Swerve is something that needs to main event. It's a good opportunity, especially with Mercedes getting in the ring for the first time. I'm looking forward to the potential of some surprises here. Like, I think maybe Camille, maybe some injury returns. I don't know. MJF is still out there in a sling, but he's a worker. The Motor City Machine Guns at any point could show up for sure. So I think there's a lot of fun possibilities there. Don't know. Adam Cole is walking again, which is good. We'll see when he's cleared to be in the ring. So I think there's a lot of possibilities for angles for excitement. And I kind of also like that if we get a different feeling pay-per-view, and these are a month apart, that I kind of like. Like, if one scratches my itch in a different way than something that's 6 weeks later or whatever, that feels doable. Now, it's still a lot to shell out $50. But Double or Nothing is one of their staple pay-per-views, right? So not mad about that. Do you have any thoughts on the Double or Nothing card so far? Or I know we were doing Motor City Machine Gun hand motions for people that might be listening in audio form. But do you participate any surprises or anything?
I think surprises would probably be the best case scenario. I don't think it's going to be really hard for it to top Dynasty as far as in-ring wrestling action. To that card just one after another. Yeah. I think Double or Nothing can be kind of almost a reset, or turn the page on the fiscal year, calendar year of their wrestling storylines, and then evolve more of the stories that are going on to build to another pay-per-view. So I think that's, like you said, we'll have some surprises maybe to help kick those storylines off. But yeah, I just don't see the in-ring being as good as it was in Dynasty. But then again, Dynasty was the first time doing it, so of course they're going to, really pack it full of matches. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic it'll be a good show since it's a 5-year anniversary show.
Yeah, and I think there is, like, we say that, but we're gonna get Roddy Strong versus Will Ospreay, right? We're gonna get Willow versus Mercedes, which the first time around before Willow was injured was a fantastic match. So I think it'll just be a little bit more dynamic of a card, where Dynasty was like strap in, because you're just getting banger after banger after banger, and that delivered so well. So I hope that there's some extra juice in it from like angles or an injury return or debuts perspective. I think there's a lot of fun ways that we can go. Just want to shout out the chat real quick. We see Kylie, we see Scott George, we see Jesse Ozog. Hi, Jesse Ozog. No Ryan tonight. He was scared of me because I returned. We see Second Lieutenant Colonel Photo. We thank you so much for your service. Lord Kevin here a little bit earlier. We appreciate you guys, and we invite you to leave a thumbs up as well. Helps people find us in the algorithm. If you're listening in audio form, leaving a 5-star review, also extremely helpful for helping us out over here.
I will say that I think commentary talked about Swerve and Christian Cage being a main event match at Double or Nothing. So whether or not it is, or it's just a main event and not the main event, we'll have to wait and see. But I feel like
they might have also gone out of their way to say that, to take it away, kind of, if that makes sense, like to make it a point that the women are going to. But we'll see. I think there's a lot of fun to be had in Christian and Swerve, and we're going to talk about what they gave us tonight, because I actually thought it did a lot. But I do think, like, Mercedes main evented the first WrestleMania for Black women, right? And Willow main evented the first ROH pay-per-view. The two of them had that match at New Japan Strong. There's so much like main event history, and Mercedes getting back in the ring for the first time in so long, I think it's main event worthy, but we'll see if they think it's main event worthy. Because, Joe, we've been on different pages about women's wrestling in the past with me and AEW. So we'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. And we also got this Anarchy in the Arena announcement, which I think is a lot of fun. But we will talk about that all a little bit later. Some news that I did want to talk about before we dive into Dynamite. There was an update on Forbidden Door on the incredibly credible FightfulSelect.com that Stardom is going to definitely be involved. It really seems like since Rossi exited the picture, there's been a lot of ease in working with Stardom. So that's very good to hear. And CMLL is very likely. Now, the Tekker nerd in me is screaming for Hechicero versus Zack Sabre Jr. Please, for the love of God, give me that. This will be in Long Island. I will certainly be there. I think a lot of familiar faces to this podcast will be there as well. But that was revealed in an interview with Rocky Romero, and he would know because he works for CMLL, AEW, and New Japan. So that guy has the beat on this. I love this. I love the idea of one, Forbidden Door has a little bit more interesting of stakes because Jon Moxley does have the IWGP title, right? So it makes it feel a little bit more significant. And also Forbidden Door being something that's open to more than just AEW and New Japan. It to me makes me very happy because it feels like it's not just an all-star game between two promotions. This now feels like we're going to involve more and more credible promotions into this. Almost feels like it should be headed toward a star cast feel at some point. Like this might have to turn into 2 days if they want to continue to include even more promotions. 3 to 4, I think, is good because Stardom will probably have some involvement. You're seeing some of that build happening already, right? In the Toni Storm story with Mariah May. And CMLL, I think there's a ton of things that you could do as fun crossover there. So I love this. Your thoughts on Forbidden Door becoming more than just a New Japan and AEW All-Star game?
I'm a big fan. I didn't want them to be a retread of just going, like you said, just having them be AEW and New Japan. So having that counter for the women's division and Stardom, that's nice. Having New Japan's obviously great. CMLL for the lucha side of things is wonderful. I think all we're really missing is kind of that UK area. But
Sure.
No, we have crossover already in New Japan and AEW with a lot of those talents. But that's really, I like having those 4 involved. And then, maybe we can have 1 or 2 kind of rotate in and out, whether it's, maybe some smaller promotions or, where we'll see where it leads, I guess. But I like the idea of, slowly growing after each year.
I agree. Now, there was a lot of free agent news as well. Unfortunately, Ethan Page is no longer working under the AEW ROH brand. This one sucks. To me. I'm a huge Ethan Page proponent. If you follow any of my stuff, if you see me on here, you know that already. This feels like of a lot of the free agents we've gotten, one of the biggest swings and misses. I don't know what circumstances he was released under. I don't know if it was contractual, whatever. But that guy always seemed like, it feels like they are simply choosing not to make $1 million with this guy. And from everything that I've heard, he's extremely easy to work with. So I gotta, honestly, it feels like the product is way more back on track in the past 6 months than it was in the 6 months before. But it almost feels like they did so much damage in that 6 months before of it being not true to the AEW identity that guys like Ethan Page just got lost in the shuffle. It felt like he was taking so much pride in Ring of Honor when nobody else was. I don't know what circumstances he was released under, but that guy has all the charisma and potential in the world. I thought he did some really cool stuff in AEW. I thought Men of the Year was some of the coolest shit that they could have done. And then they paired him with Dan Lambert. The Firm went to shit. They never really gave him his due, and it bums me out because I think that guy is a bona fide television star. He seems very content with everything he's doing with A1, which is awesome. He is your Excite Wrestling World Champion as well, which is the most important promotion with the best commentary team in the world. It's called putting yourself over. But that was a bummer. So just any thoughts on the departure of Ethan Page?
Like you said, the right guy at the wrong time when it comes to that. Him and other guys like, whether it's Stu Grayson over the years, those guys that you watch and you wonder why they aren't getting a push or a better storyline. And then they get lost in the shuffle and then these things happen. But yeah, he's always that guy that we all look at and just don't get why he hasn't gotten to the very top of, whatever promotion he's in.
Yeah.
As far as major promotions. Yeah.
And I was going to say, because he kind of did with TNA, like the North was very over and he did a lot of really great work there, but it felt like he was being lined up to be the guy in ROH and then they took that off the table. So a bummer to see him go, but that's going to happen. Like wrestling has big rosters and there's a lot going on right now. And you just brought in Will Ospreay and Okada and Mercedes. Like focuses are going to shift and people unfortunately are going to fall through the cracks. It's just weird because he was so heavily featured on ROH and then just all of a sudden was not. So feels very abrupt. And the only other thing, go ahead.
I was thinking, so during his AEW run, so was his best feud Darby then?
Man, yeah, probably. Like that coffin match, him throwing him down the stairs and stuff. That shit ruled. Yeah. That's a shame because that was hot as hell when that happened. Mm-hmm. Felt like he should be getting launched up the card. So that's a bummer because I think he does great work, but looking forward to what's next for him. I hope the departure was on terms that he's excited about and whatever that future looks like. He could do great things in AEW and WWE. He could do amazing things for the NXT roster. So we'll see, but you're kind of starting to see this trickle down effect and it's something I'm actually excited about. So I hope it doesn't come out the wrong way, but like WWE is pretty stacked right now. And AEW is pretty stacked right now. So you're going to see some overflow back to TNA, hopefully back to New Japan because they need it really bad. And into the indies. Like you're seeing what Mustafa Ali is doing. You're seeing what Nick Nemeth is doing. And I think that's exciting. And I think Ethan Page definitely has the charisma and the cachet to kind of pull off one of those runs. Like I really think Mustafa Ali and Ethan Page could feed villages. Like I think it could be really great. So hopefully some good stuff there. The other news, this is more WWE news, but Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins re-signing to WWE. I only bring that because two significant free agents are off the board and probably indicative, I would think, that Becky Lynch is going to go back to WWE. But Jerry Lawler becoming available. That is definitely a new era thing. Jerry Lawler was taken care of by WWE for better or for worse for a really long time. I have no interest in Jerry Lawler coming into AEW at all, especially from the idea that he would probably be on commentary. And I think he's a objectively terrible commentator. And I think they have an excellent commentary desk. I could see them doing one-offs like in Memphis with him, like doing something the way I wish they would have used Jeff Jarrett. Like just for a local pop, I could see that, especially as they're trying to sell these live houses a little bit stronger. So I think that could be a really good call, but I don't have any desire to see Jerry the King Lawler come in as a full-time or even like a part-time thing, a one-off thing, sure. Any thoughts on Jerry the King Lawler coming into AEW?
No, he is a performer of yesteryear and of a time period we're trying to move away from. And I don't think he follows the product or any product really that closely anymore. So I don't know what he would add to anything other than, putting his foot in his mouth, probably saying something.
Yeah. He has also terribly dated in the things that he said. Like, it worked in the time period he was doing commentary, and then we outgrew that as a wrestling fandom, I think, and he just kind of stayed in his box. So Scott George asking if he has a Legends contract. He does not. That was not WWE in the new era. TKO made an active decision not to keep him around and keep him signed. So he is a free agent. We'll see what he ends up doing, but that was kind of all the news. Hi, Doc Mueller. We see you joining in the chat, and you joined right before we're about to go to commercial, and I'm going to let Joe take a second to pull up those commercials. And before we do, I'm going to not make him pull up the website, but I will remind you that you can go to ProWrestlingTees.com and pick up a Mark Order t-shirt. Oh my God. What a versatile fella. I wasn't even prompting him for it. And he was like, I already knew where you were going, Kate. Like, this is how in sync we are. This is what happens when we're not interrupted by the bad pun master, Ryan. But the Frodo of this podcast, Doc will know what I'm talking about. But we have 4 beautiful designs for the Mark Order podcast here. You can get the double-sided options. My favorite is the one on the far right. And we always appreciate the support so much. If you're able to pick up a Mark Order t-shirt, please do, or consider adding it on to whatever cool merch you're getting over there. A new Wardlow shirt just dropped, I'm sure. Mercedes merch will be dropping coming out of Double or Nothing. So much more there. But
I will say, though, before you transition into the commercials here, they are having a flash sale right now for the next 48 hours. Yeah.
If you flash your titties at the website, you will get 20% off. Is that how it works?
I don't know. We can try it.
I think it's I think you should try it right now. No?
No, I'm good. I already have a shirt.
Okay, fair enough. I'm sure if Matt from the Shining Wizards was here, it would take nothing to get him to try and do that because he's a maniac. But speaking of the Shining Wizards, there's the segue. We are a part of the Shining Wizards Network. We join several other great shows on this network that is held down by the Shining Wizards every Monday night. I was on there this week doing Kate's Corner, where we run through, just for 10 or 15 minutes, something that stood out over the past month of wrestling. We talked about Backlash pretty extensively. So you can check that out. But we also want to tell you all about some of the great shows on the Shining Wizards Network, which we are a part of. And instead of talking at you about it, we have this video thing, this audio thing that is going to do it instead.
And every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to The Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is The Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the Squared Circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things and not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill?
Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcast, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
If you like your music heavy, then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, the action is underway.
What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
Or playing in punk bands.
Or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at MarkOrderPod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rowe.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Dots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And when you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole! We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke and Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones, too.
We're currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Your Duke and Rope podcast. They're funny guys. That I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast with two men, Duke Bags, Kevin Rowe. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Oklahoma?
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Oh, you piece of shit! If you're not listening to the Your Duke boys. You piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about, because I'm only a man, you're talking about sliding one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit, slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
You sure can. You sure can find us on the Shining Wizards Network with those other wonderful shows. We encourage you to check them out, especially that flagship show on Monday nights. They do some really, really fun interviews over there. But let's face it, Joe, like, we're the A show. It's just the way it goes. Always. Even down members. We are the A show, okay? We've got the ratings to prove it. I completely made that up. I'm not sure. But what I do know is that AEW Dynamite, kind of medium tonight. Just like a little bit medium. There was nothing that I was like, this is actively bad, except for the fact that Chris Jericho exists. But even what they're doing with it, if you're gonna make it work, they're doing it the way that you should make it work. Just was perfectly cromulent, as they say on The Simpsons, which is one of like 3 references that I know. What were your thoughts? Are you with me in that this feels kind of medium tonight, or is there something I'm missing?
You know, if Ryan was here, he would say that it was very medium, much like Canada is. So it makes sense. Ryan, a known Canada hater. Yeah, it was a good show. It wasn't an all-timer. It felt a little bit slow for me watching it. And usually when that happens, it means it's an average show. And I don't know if I needed the overrun, but we got one.
I feel like anytime that we have these overruns, it doesn't feel like it's because the card demands it. But I so loved the EVP chess move of like, we got an overrun for you guys. Like, I almost liked it just for the douchiness that it gave our EVPs and the big reveal that they did with it. I'm excited about the people that they revealed and what they revealed. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, they could have just cut 5 minutes out of that main event. Like, it would have been fine. Or cut 3 minutes out of the main event and 2 minutes somewhere else. Like, didn't really require it. But let's get into the card tonight. We start with Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta, and I thought this was a whole bunch of fun, really smart wrestling. I'm a big half and half suplex girl, so as far as spots, I'm going to call out Trent has a great half and half suplex. I thought this was super, super fun. The first half of this was just these guys beating the crap out of each other. At one point, Excalibur notes, and I really liked that he did, like, they didn't even attempt to make a pinfall here. Like, this was just personal, them beating each other the hell up. And you eventually have OC winning here. You get Trent running into OC and a drop toe hold, sending him into the top buckle for the roll up. I also love that he didn't win with the orange punch here, right? Like, this is good, and there was so much. We know each other so well, like we have to figure out ways to outfox each other. What did you think of our opening contest here?
Thought it was a good match to start the show. It was, the animosity between the two, the heat between the two, I thought was a good opener. Really thought we get this match at Double or Nothing. So I'm interested to see how we develop the story leading into Double or Nothing. So I really enjoyed Orange's evolution through this feud of anger, going to different places, and being able to be a little bit more serious, a little bit more edgier, not afraid to take a shortcut here or there if he needs to, if he feels like it's just. And yeah, it really kind of interesting to see how Don Wrestling plays into it.
I was just about to bring that up, and I feel like because I have my notes open on here, my stream got choppier. So I am going to X out of those, pull them up on my phone instead. So sorry about the little noise and chaos in the background. Don Callis was on commentary for this, which made a little bit of sense. But he was also on commentary all night, which made no sense, and I hate it, and I never want it to happen again. Not when you have Nigel McGuinness. They should have sped up technology to be able to zap him back and forth if that's what was called for. Nigel should always be on commentary for every wrestling show in the history of the world. But Don Callis out here on this. So I don't love Don Callis, but my bigger thing is this just feels so unnecessary. I think they feel like they need it because they want to add some layers of dimension to Orange Cassidy, but I feel like this is so personal. It kind of feels like Don Callis is just shoehorned in there, and I don't love that about it. He was fine on commentary, but he just didn't go away. So what do you think of Don Callis' involvement in this angle? And are you kind of like, how about we don't do that on commentary ever again, Don Callis?
It's kind of like we're just trying to find a home for him since, Hobbs is out injured right now. I feel like the Callis family is a little banged up or not there, so they got to find a place for him to go somewhere. Him being there the whole night for commentary, I didn't think was going to happen. I thought, first match made sense, and then after that, it just seemed weird. But I guess who else do you go to for a 3-man booth?
I don't think
you get a 3-man booth.
Yeah, that's my thing. I feel like you could have just had Shivani and Excalibur. I don't think you needed that so much, or bring out people that have to do with each other's angles. I don't think you need Don Callis there the whole time. He did quip about it later in the show, so I guess he was like seeing or hearing some of the feedback. He was like, everybody online is saying that they love me, clearly being a little tongue-in-cheek about it, so I appreciate that much. But post-match in this, we do have Trent with a beatdown of Orange Cassidy after. Gouges the eyes out here, a pile driver onto the steps. Some good post-match beatdown stuff, but out comes Chris Statlander to hold Trent back as Don asks Orange Callis as Don Callis asks Orange Cassidy, Orange Julius, if he is okay. And we get him walking back up the ramp as Chris is pleading for Trent to chill out here at the end. So some good post-match stuff. I feel like Orange Cassidy is not going to join the Callis family. I think you're going to get Orange Cassidy versus the Callis family out of this. And I don't mind that. Like, give me Orange Cassidy versus Takeshita, and I'm a happy gal. Give me Orange Cassidy, Will Ospreay too, and I'm a happy gal. So not mad about any of that. Any thoughts on the post-match beatdown?
No, I think it just evolved the story like you mentioned, and I think I have a feeling it's going to be one of those double turns where, this Trent going that direction more than OC, and maybe Statlander goes with.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Chris is going heel for sure. I am now sold on the booking idea of Mercedes Moné taking Chris, taking Stokely, taking Willow's title, taking everything from Willow because Willow almost took her career away. I feel like that is amazing. And you have Mercedes. I love Mercedes as a face, but her working heel, I feel like, is her wheelhouse. It's a pretty fun way to get her there.
You're really your pick for Double or Nothing.
Yeah, I will say this: Double or Nothing has a more unpredictable card than Dynasty did. So I'm intrigued. We go backstage to the Young Bucks who are driving. There's a camera in the back seat, and you just get these assholes parking in Tony Khan's spots, followed quickly by a Kenny Omega in a hospital bed who says that the Young Bucks were his family for 15 years, and he's been thinking May 26th is the 5-year anniversary. How about Anarchy in the arena? The Young Bucks, Okada, and Jack Perry against Team AEW. He throws out FTR. And says that 2 other people will be revealed later, but he must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night. This feels like a good way to keep a probably not cleared Kenny Omega out of the picture until he's ready to come back, probably building to Okada and Kenny. I'm hoping in the UK, I think that would be an amazing all-in match and doesn't require a ton of build to capitalize on their story. But I love this. I'm so glad that Kenny has gotten to get back involved. He's desperately missed on screen. We're seeing these free agents like Okada and Will Ospreay pop up. We have people that are just off television from injury, like Kenny and Max and Adam Cole, who are also going to be coming back into this very loaded roster. But I thought this was perfectly fine tonight. What did you think?
Yeah, I like Kenny, playing the foil to the Elite and other EVPs. I would kind of like him and Tony to kind of be, the balance to Matt and Nick Jackson's kind of iron balance.
Please. We respect them here at the podcast. Yeah.
Matthew, I like the iron balance between Kenny and TK making decisions, and then Matthew and Nicholas making decisions, and them kind of tug of warring it. I think that can be a little fun as Kenny and TK are off camera.
They do have that good cop bad cop thing going, so that's a fun thing within itself for sure.
The tease of Anarchy in the Arena with FCR, we kind of knew they were going to be there. And we obviously learned later tonight the other two people, but out of those other two, I guess I didn't think of one of them.
Okay.
I looked at one of them.
I thought if one showed up, a different other would show up. And I think you know what I mean, but we'll wait. We'll wait to talk about that. So I'm excited though. I thought this was good from Kenny. It was good to get him on screen in Canada. This is a lot of stuff that was just kind of like advancing incrementally tonight, which was why it felt kind of like a more standard episode. But sometimes you need those standard episodes to patch you. But we get our women on the show earlier. This is nice. This is becoming less and less noteworthy because it feels like actual progress is being made, that the women are not the 9:22 p.m. slot or whatever. This is really refreshing, but this was not a great promo from Serena Deeb, but she did her best with it. She was kind of all over the place. The crowd was booing her for having had unprompted seizures, but she basically says she knows everyone loves Toni Storm, but she loves her too. But that doesn't mean that Toni Storm can beat her. As she starts to explain why losing is not an option for her. And she talks about how several months ago she was on the shelf and it was the hardest time of her life. She had 3 unprovoked seizures, she says, and that they were terrifying and traumatic. And that this is the weight on her shoulders, is to the possibility of it happening again. Doctors, she's got scans. She goes through kind of everything that she went through, and she thought about her career ending, and that didn't sit with her because she hasn't been champion. So she had this vision in her head, and she gets mercifully interrupted by Toni Storm because this was rough from a delivery standpoint. People are like, man, she is just like Bret Hart. She's an incredible wrestler who cannot talk. But we go to Classic Color, and we get Toni Storm coming out here, and she calls Serena Deeb a charity case and tosses money at her. They start jaw-jacking a little bit, but they are going to fight at Double or Nothing. And Toni tells her that after everything she's gone through, she can honestly tell her that she doesn't give a single solitary shit. God bless Toni Storm. What I've loved about Toni Storm in the more recent weeks is it felt like since that Joshi match at WrestleMania, something started to deliver more in ring than we had been seeing. That Thunder Rosa match was great, and some of the stuff she was doing leading into it I thought was really, really strong, because she had she's always had really good matches, and then the character was just kind of more standard. And then she had this amazing character, but it felt like the matches were a little over-agented and she wasn't necessarily delivering the best performances. Now I feel like we have perfect character, awesome in-ring, amazing title defense with Thunder Rosa. I imagine Serena Deeb and her are going to have an incredible match as well. The stuff with Mariah May is really, really advancing, so I'm excited to see where that leads. But promo wasn't great until Toni Storm came in and saved us on it, but good for Serena Deeb to work her way back to this position. She's amazing in the ring. She doesn't need to be an amazing promo. I also appreciated the production of this. The setting that it was in just felt a little different. I like them switching up the playbook on things like that. But what did you think of all this, Joe?
It peaks and valleys. So the peak was, she came out there. I'm like, oh, this is great. Having Serena really, having her in this opportunity for this title match, really featuring her, really giving her promo time, like making her feel like a big deal finally. It just seemed different. So I'm like, oh, I'm all for it. And then she delivers her promo, and it just wasn't great, obviously. And then it really hit me when you can't get the crowd on your side as a sympathy, talking about the life-threatening seizures and fighting for your life. That's a telltale sign to me that like the promo's not hitting. If you can't get
to Canadians who are known for being very nice.
Yeah, and like, well, it's just rough. And then you have Tony, who is the heel in this feud, getting the pop and getting the crowd into it. It seemed odd, but for Serena, I think they'll obviously have a great match. I think they do more promos with her. I think more short, succinct promos like she did as a heel, like she did at Daly's place, when she was talking to the camera. Just really short, meaningful, like, I'm on a mission to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Like, don't storytell. Just tell me what you're going to do.
I think it's tough because we needed to have like a comeback mission statement for her a little bit, and this just didn't hit. I liked the Deeb's Dojo stuff. I feel like we can just kind of stick with that. But I get why they wanted to get her story out there. It was just really rough on delivery. The chat mentioning Doc Mueller specifically saying that Tony sold that KO shot perfectly. Yes, I should mention that this did end with Serena Deeb knocking out Tony, which I thought was the most effective thing she could have done in the promo because it looked great. And Tony did sell her ass off for it. Got a couple more people joining in the chat. We see you, Tim McFowell and Greg Cherry. Nice to see you over there. Thank you so much for diving in as we continue down our Dynamite card for tonight. We get a backstage, and Orange Cassidy is selling the beatdown really, really well. And in comes Rocky Romero. My favorite thing that was said on commentary from Don Callis tonight was him talking about Rocky Romero and saying that he's known for holding talent back. Was just absolutely popped me because there is nobody in the world who was more instrumental in the opposite of that. But Orange Cassidy gets off the phone with Tony Khan, and he tells him that if Rocky wins tonight, they get a trios title shot with OC, and they can pick a third, maybe even ask Trent. And OC removes his glasses and tells Rocky they'll figure that out, and good luck. So nicely done there of like somebody not wanting the group to break up. Like this idea that like just because you're fighting, just because things are bad doesn't necessarily mean like we can't figure it out. Like fight about it and let's see if we can get back together, I think is a fun way to go. I also like things of OC, Rocky telling OC that he just got off the phone with Tony Khan, like just little logical things like that. The clip surfaced the other day of the time that Jericho was on commentary and Eddie Kingston just called him and was like, I'm going to beat your ass, Chris. When he was on commentary, I was like, oh, I miss when they were doing like little production risks like that. We got so far the other way. But I like this one. We don't see the phone call, but we at least get like I was talking to Tony Khan, who still runs the show, right? EVP's nod in this, but perfectly serviceable. Don't know why Don Callis is still on commentary after this, but any thoughts on this quick backstage?
No, I'm interested to see what it does or what it meant based on the outcome of Rocky's match. If you look at it in a vacuum of that, it really didn't mean anything. But I feel like it has to mean something going forward with the dynamic of Rocky and Trent and OC, whether to the Double or Nothing build. So that's what I'm curious about.
I am curious too, and I like this. To your point, it's kind of refreshed Orange Cassidy, the second international title reign. I think because that was not the plan at all. Really felt a little stuck in the mud. Now we're starting to see some more fun layers out of Orange Cassidy and some really great heel work from Trent. Trent working heel feels very natural, and I love to hear that. We also do find out that Chuck Taylor needs another surgery, possibly career-ending, they said. So I don't know if something got re-aggravated in that parking lot brawl or if this is a new thing, but feels kind of like a shoot. I don't think there's been anything reported either way, but I don't think they go out of their way on commentary to say that otherwise. So we move on to our women's match, Mariah May and Harley Cameron, who's making her in-ring debut here. And I felt like she did a pretty good job here. She held her own. I think Mariah May is a very good person to be in the ring with for your first match. And they are really putting a lot of stock in Mariah May. She's getting as many reps as anybody, I think man or women. We've seen her on Collision. We've seen her on Dynamite. Like, it's great to see how much she is getting featured. And I really thought, like, man, she's knocking the story out of the park, but there's no way she's the one that dethrones Toni Storm. I kind of feel like now she is. Like, we're so in this story, so deep with these two. And there's been so much build out for Mariah that it feels almost inevitable. I was thinking maybe JD Hayter comes back and is the one to do it, but really feels like we're sticking to the story here. And I love that because while Toni Storm's been unbelievable with this character, so has Mariah May. Like, there's nobody doing what Toni Storm has done, but having Mariah May to play off of and how well Mariah May has played her role has been so excellent in this. And I love that we're getting this tug of war with her and AZM and Toni Storm too. Like, there's this like badass Joshi indie hard-hitting woman. And then there's the woman who is literally curling up into Toni Storm's bosom otherwise. Very, very, very fun here. But she gets the win here. I was impressed. I think Harley Cameron did really well. If you see her personality, and even if she just is serviceable in the ring, some people are going to say that this is like an insult. I actually really like Carmella in WWE, and I think she's great. I think she's really, really good at her role. And I felt like Bunny was kind of similar to Carmella in AEW. And now that Bunny's not there, I feel like Harley Cameron could step up into that role where she's absolutely hysterical in the ring. I don't think in the same, like, Carmella did, like, I'm a hot girl shit, a lot of, like, I'm the last diva stuff, but that, like, very cartoonish, over-the-top personality, good enough in the ring to make you believe anything, but can really get you interested just by being so effusive in their character. Like, I think Harley Cameron could have that. We didn't see that as much in the ring tonight. A lot of this was the story between her and Saraya coming out here. She looked good in the work that she did on the side, landing a huge right hand toward the end of this. Mariah May kind of screaming at Saraya. Harley tries to capitalize with a surprise cradle, but May has her up for the Mayday and the win. A lot of camera focus on Saraya, which I understand. I would have kind of liked to have seen more of it in the ring. Saraya is really excellent at this role on the outside. If she's not able to get in the ring because of her neck and fibromyalgia and stuff, she's good at this. She's really good at reading crowd reactions. So I appreciate that she was being used here. But Mariah May, man, she's someone special. She's someone special, and it makes me really, really happy to see this. Your thoughts on this match and Harley Cameron's debut here?
Yeah. So, first of all, if Mariah May's match was where it was in the card, that means she came out right after Toni Storm got KO'd.
Yes.
So, like, why did she not come out and help, scurry Serena away if she was right there having a match? And that's, I don't know. It was just one of those logical things.
Maybe because she's preparing for her match, right? Okay. And because that was not supposed to be, I think because Toni Storm interrupted her. That was not planned, right? So I don't think Mariah May could have or should have known about it. And she definitely wouldn't have thought there was going to be physical contact. But to your point, we might also read into that because Toni Storm is not the one to help her post-match, which we'll talk about in just a moment.
Secondly, I forgot the Outcasts were a thing until I heard the music for Harley. We're hanging on to this whole Outcast thing. But I thought Harley had a lot of offense in this match, maybe more than I thought she should have initially because, how few matches she's worked in AEW and how this was her first Dynamite. I thought she got a lot of offense in that she probably shouldn't have initially. But to your point, I think what she did, though, it fits her character. Like, you don't need to be a 5-tool wrestler in the ring. Like, she does what she's good at. And she had great facial expressions. She sells very well. Like you said, she had kind of that blonde bombshell Harley Quinn energy. I would like to go a little bit more over the edge sometimes. Like maybe sometimes be a little not serious if you're going to be crazy. Try to bring out some kind of random weapon to use and not be able to use it, things like that. But overall, I thought it was good. I'm glad she got on Dynamite finally. And I would be curious to find out if this path of Mariah May and Toni Storm, if that was always going to be the plan, or somewhere along the lines, something just clicked and it became, we can't deviate from it now because it makes too much sense.
It really is. I think Mariah May is very over, and I think she's done such an excellent job. And she has this very unique thing where we don't normally see the blonde bombshell that is a fucking hits like a truck. She hits really hard, and her style is so physical and aggressive. We don't normally see that with this aesthetic, and I think it makes her very unique. So I don't know if it was the plan all along either, but I'm glad that they're rewarding it if it wasn't, because she's been really impressive. And with Deonna and Mercedes coming in and Camille at some point debuting, I'm assuming, like, this is really, really cool. This is really, really cool. So I am a huge fan of hers, and I feel like they know that they have something with her. And to your point about Harley, it's so tough because you don't want to make someone look like a chump in their debut, but it's also not believable that they're getting that offense in. So it is tough. I do think you will see more exaggeration from her in the future. I think this was just like first match. The goal was to hang, right? And I think you'll probably see more insanity in the future from her because she definitely is able to deliver that. So we will see as it goes on. But post-match, we do get Saraya attacking Mariah May along with Harley, and then AZM is coming out. We get Mina Shirakawa, her former tag team champion in Stardom. She back elbows Harley and grabs her. Pretty nasty, pretty good stuff here. I love that we're getting, Toni Storm was knocked out. So how is she going to come in to help save Mariah May, right? Who's really there for who is a really fun piece of this. And I like that we're getting Toni Storm has a split personality. So does Mariah May here, right? So what do you think of our post-match?
First of all, they have champagne just sitting by ringside at all times now. That's amazing.
I guess so.
I like this whole tug of war of who is Mariah May and the identity crisis that she'll have to face.
Yeah.
And figure out which way she goes. That's been a fun wrinkle in this whole storyline. I didn't see that part coming. So
they reminded us all that Mariah May is like a tweener, because I feel like she was working face against the Outcast, but then she went to kiss Mina and they didn't kiss. So that feels like a heel because they did not give the people what they want. People want hot girl smooching, I feel like.
Well, Mina didn't give the people what she wanted. I felt like
that's a good point.
Mariah went 60% of the way.
She did. If you were watching Hitch, Mariah May was right there. She was waiting for Mina to come the rest of the way. That is a fair point. But they're just always kissing and having champagne. So I loved this. This is perfectly fun. And it'll be interesting to see, because Mina's appearing a lot. Like, I don't know if they have her signed or if they're just intending to sign her, but it does seem like both New Japan, from what we've seen with WWE most recently, and Stardom, kind of like, hey, if you're on your way out, we'll let you out. Just finish your business and then you can leave, kind of stuff. So I'm intrigued to see if we find out more about that. But we go backstage and we have a new interviewer in place. I missed Dasha already, but she is with Pac, and she asks if the Death Triangle is still a thing. And Pac says he's not concerned with them. And here comes Jay White and the ass gentleman, as I like to call them. Pac says there's no need, or Pac needs to be concerned with himself, says Jay White. And he, there's someone who knows how to beat Okada. Excuse me. Sorry, my notes are all over the place. So maybe he should go after that title and add additional gold to their whole haul that they have here. And tonight, though, he's got Rocky, and Pac and his new friend can hang out in the back. I love that it's Pac and his new friend. So you can learn some things about how to win around here. Oh my God, thank God Jay White has gold on him and that those trios titles are off the ass voice. I'm sorry, not the ass voice. The Bang Bang, the Scissor Gang part of the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. Because Jay White with gold just feels right. And I'm excited about the trios picture. Any thoughts on this?
Why we have so many goddamn belts for the trio
too
belt?
many fucking belts. They should not have a pink belt.
We still have the pink scissor belts. We have the ROH belts. And then we have what I assume is the unified belt, the gold one.
It feels like what they're trying to say is you're a unified champion, but you can drop either of them at any time. Because that's what they did with the C2. And I hate that because then you're not a unified champion. It makes no sense.
But they also, so the gold belt, the unified belt then? So they have 3 of them.
I think so, yeah.
I'm like, why don't you carry the unified one
Why do
for
you
the
have
most part?
9 belts when you're one champion? It's way too much. Way too much. But let's skip ahead and we'll circle back. But we'll go to this Jay White and Rocky Romero match because I thought this was a lot of fun. I love that Rocky has had this kind of in-ring resurgence at this point in his career because he's been doing so much valuable work behind the scenes. Every time that he gets in there, I'm like, you almost forget how incredible he is because his contributions outside of the ring are so impressive. But God, he's a lot of fun. He knows how to work with anybody. And this match I thought was better than it's probably going to get credit for because of it being I don't want to say a throwaway episode, but not the most built out episode, right? But he's so good and he fills his role so well. I'm very excited that he got to do this, but we get Jay White hitting a monster suplex at the end of this, grabbing the head with the Blade Runner and the cover for the win. The commercial really gutted a lot of this, which was a bummer, but it was fun. It was only 8 minutes long, but this was what it needed to be, right? So no problems with that. But there was a fun sliced bread in here that I thought was really, really good. Rocky just continues to be one of the coolest motherfuckers in the world. I adore him. But your thoughts on the match that was later in the night?
It was my favorite match on the card. I know.
Okay.
But I mean, from a pure wrestling standpoint, it was my favorite match. And permission to call a spot.
Yeah, Ryan's not here tonight, so you have all the permission you could possibly want.
One of my favorite spots happened in the picture-in-picture. I happened to look over. Usually, I kind of get distracted, and I see Jay White carrying Rocky Romero like some kind of reverse chokehold over his back, and Rocky Romero just draped over his back, being choked out, and Jay White just walking around the ring like nothing's going on. Just seeing in that visual was fun, but.
It's so much fun, and he's really good at that of just being like vicious, but so calm and collected that you're like, that guy's like a little bit fucked up. Like in a good way in my wrestling. Like he is perfectly okay with the fact that he might murder this person.
He plays the sociopath character very well.
Yes. Yeah. It's really, really fun. It's really, really fun. So I'm with you, and I wish so much of this wasn't in commercial because that was way more fun than it had any right to be. That it had any right to be on this card. I wish they had shaved. I love that Adam Copeland is giving us this much at this stage of his career. You can shave a couple minutes off these matches for him if you're going to do an overrun anyway, and throw another 2 or 3 minutes onto this. But I don't think it was supposed to slap that hard. I think those guys just don't know any other way. So I will take it. But back to earlier in the night, we get our AEW World Champion. I'm going to put over real quick Swerve and our good friends, the M&M boys, Mansoor and Mason, who did a charity stream for SGW, the Ugandan soft ground wrestling promotion. Those guys have a lot more needs than just wrestling. They are on leased land. They have no beds. They don't have access to food. They don't have access to shelter. And Mansoor and Mason did a 8.5 hour stream and raised about $28,000 for them in one shot. Xavier Woods donated $1,000. Mustafa Ali donated $2,000. Really, really, really incredible showing out from support in the community. Swerve popped on there and he was just playing Madden while he was on the Twitch stream. It was awesome, but just very cool of the AEW champion to stop by on such an important and special thing that Manny and Mason, or Manny and Brennan, however you know them, were doing last night. But here, he is not so happy. He's in a foul mood, and he says, nay, a fighting mood, in fact. Last Wednesday, when Cage clocked him with the mic and beat Swerve down and ripped out a dread, which is so nasty, but Swerve says when you become a champion, you have a target on your back, essentially, and he doesn't blame Brian Cage for what he did. He's done things like that, which I like. I love in WWE when Kevin Owens is like, I'm sorry I was being a dick. Every time that guy turns face, he's like, I know I've been out of character these past few months. Like, I appreciate that, and I love that Swerve isn't an idiot. He acknowledges, not that long ago, I might have been breaking into somebody's house and stuff. And so he says that he wants Cage and the rest of the Adams family to join them right now. I love that we're going to have some Cage on Cage synergy with what's about to happen, but he comes out and he says that he's impressed that the champion is in Edmonton, where in a couple of hours the Canucks will stomp them out. You got to love the hometown heat. But he talks about what he did to Swerve the previous week and says he is going to take Swerve's title and that Swerve's had huge waves of momentum, but they are about to crash at Double or Nothing, and they will crash at his feet. He is the face of TBS TNT and deserves to stand on top of the mountain. And after Double or Nothing, when the dust settles, his house will be foreclosed on, which I loved. And he was not coming alone. The Mogul Embassy is here, and I was just complaining about this last week. The past couple weeks, in fact, because they're also on ROH television. I'm like, are they just not with Swerve anymore? Are they not with Nana anymore? Are they friendly but disassociated? Like, what's the deal? Finally, we get this turn, which I think is healthy and much needed for the rest of the Mogul Embassy for sure. I really, really, really like what we got here. We got some Kendrick and Drake disses in here as well. Good stuff. And then you have the attack from the Mogul Embassy. I saw two reactions online, which were, one was finally, let's fucking go. And the other was, I just could not care less about the Mogul Embassy. Like, Swerve was the special part. I don't care about the rest of these guys. Where do you fall, and what did you think of this segment?
Where do I fall as far as what I think about Mogul Embassy?
Yeah.
They're a fine ROH 6-man tag.
Okay.
And Brian Cage is a serviceable one-on-one guy. So when they came out to support Swerve, I felt like, okay, this is going to be the turn because, I mean, this is your backup guys that you haven't been really associated with on TV for months. So the turn made sense because, obviously you can easily say that, he left them behind. He forgot them.
Sure.
He didn't need them anymore once he got the title. So that makes sense. It's logical. And I guess during the segment, though, I'm not a big fan of back-to-back weeks of Swerve being so outsmarted or having that babyface naivety of,
Dumb babyface syndrome. Dumb babyface syndrome for sure, yeah.
We were talking about how self-aware he is about himself and other things, and like he's been on both sides, so he should know better, right? He
should know to be looking over his back. My only defense of that is, like, Christian Cage already has a crew, right? So the idea that he would be in cahoots with them is silly, because if they wanted to be down Swerve, why wouldn't you just have Mother Wayne come in and do it? Really, because she's the heavy in that group. So what I do like about this is, if you're going to set up Brian Cage and Swerve, you could do that on like a supersized Dynamite or a throwaway special, a Battle of the Belts or whatever, and have him go through the other two. Like, that's just an easy way to build out a program. So I like building out easy programs that are not significant builds. Like, it's not going to be Brian Cage and Swerve It All In, right? So I don't mind. But I understand what you're saying. Like, you should be, yeah, spoiler, huge scoop, ain't happening. But I get what you're saying is like, he should not be outfoxed 2 weeks in a row by a 50-year-old man and his own friends. That's a very fair criticism. Very fair criticism. We go backstage with Willow Nightingale, who says she's not feeling great. And I say, well, it's not your hips, because they don't lie, because she was dressed like Shakira and she looked great. She was not the wholesome Willow that we know. There was some Willow cleavage that was happening on television. My God. But she is ready for a challenge, and Double or Nothing is just another stop on her championship run here. But the question is Mercedes ready? Because last time they stepped foot in the same ring, Willow walked out the victor in that. And she has respect for her, but Willow is on the run of her life. At the end of the show, we get Mercedes kind of answering this, right? And saying that she's the one that sent her on the run of her life and that she is ready for Double or Nothing. Willow here references New Japan and winning the Owen, which I like, kind of talk about those credentials. And is Willow ready for the fight of her? Is Mercedes ready for the fight of her life, rather? So, nice way to throw this into the middle of the show and then bookend it with Mercedes at the end, kind of call and response a little bit. What were your thoughts on that?
My only thought is that Willow has been crushing the promos these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, really strong from her.
They're just so good, like on a different level that we haven't seen of her during her time in AEW. I don't know if it's just because of the position she's in or if she's getting more time, but like she plays off the smiley, happy Willow, but then goes straight into like, cold-hearted killer. And I'm sorry for your bad luck, but I'm going to keep my title.
I think it's because she's a champion, as silly as that sounds, but like she has something to sink her teeth into. So it feels like she's evolved into I'm the happy magnetic girl you've known to grow and love, but like at the end of the day, I'm here to defend my championship and kick your ass. Like she desperately needed that extra layer to sound like a more natural talker, I think. And I like that too. I like that a lot too. I don't like Chris Jericho.
I didn't pay much attention to this match, full disclosure.
It was 2.5 minutes, so you didn't miss anything. But it was against the two jobbiest jobbers to ever job. No offense to Jabari and Harlan Abbott, who were the opponents here. What was fun was, I don't like it, but if you're going to do it, this is the way you do it. Big Bill did everything, and Jericho came in and got the cover, and he's talking about how he is the learning tree, right? Like, that is good old-fashioned heel work, and I can at least respect that. And we get a post-match promo where he even says, like, you guys are all surprised I returned to Dynamite. Of course I returned to Dynamite. I'd be here for all 2 hours if I could. Like, there is some Chris Jericho playing tone deaf that I can't argue that it works. I can tell you I don't like it because I don't like it. But I can't argue that it's an effective approach for where Jericho is at this stage of his career. And where that is holy shit, never have him be a face. It has never worked in AEW. It's barely ever worked in WWE. And he can't go anymore in the ring outside of fun plunder matches. So what they did was gave us a fun plunder match with Shibata last week, which was pretty good. And this where it's that blissfully unaware, sarcastic, but like he's playing it off very well. I think he's extremely tuned into what people are saying about him, and he's playing like he's not. So I get where they're going with it. I think there are way better uses of Big Bill, and I think there are way better uses of time on your television. But he's the for the world champion here, right? He's pulling Bill into the Jericho vortex. He thanks Shibata and says they've chopped each other 79 times, which was really fun. And he even thanks Hook in this post-match promo. And says like that he hasn't seen him since Dynasty, but take all the time you need, kid. Like, he is playing the arrogant asshole extremely well. Why he's able to do it so well is I'll leave that up to you. But if you're gonna do this, I do think this is the way to do it. And I think it could work for Bill, but like Bill just doing some awesome big man work in here. Chris Jericho coming in with the cover and being like, let me teach you, even though you did all the work. This works so much better than what they were doing. But yeah, you said you didn't pay a lot of attention. There wasn't a lot to pay attention to.
So my takeaway from this is that you really are the learning tree of the Mark Order podcast. You kind of come in here after some absences. You take the glory, you show us how it's done, and then you bounce out for a few more weeks until we need you again. Okay.
I'm gonna be a part-timer.
Okay.
Part-time podcaster. I'll still come around from time to time. Maybe I'll do some like top of the show work and then bounce. But
it's growth opportunities for us.
Yes, exactly. I just want what's best. I want to cultivate great talent here at the Mark Order podcast. But yeah, no, I think this is learning tree. You are welcome to sit under my shade as I shield you from the bright rays of what wrestling podcasting can be.
I mean, if one thing's known for you is all the shades you like to cast, right?
It is. I did a lot of that this week, to be quite honest. So
I did like the fact that they kind of, Shivani comes in the ring after the match and he lets them know that Hook is going to come back next week.
Yes.
And Bill and Jericho are very like, congratulations, way to go. We can't wait to see you.
It was pretty cute. It was well done. I appreciated that. So if it has to be on my screen 3 minutes at a time, executed this way, fine. I guess I won't turn the channel. But we're already at our main event. So I do want to say, if anybody who joined in the chat later, we see some fresh names in there. We see A-Shock coming into the fold a little bit later tonight. Tim McFowle is kicking around a little bit earlier. But if you guys could leave a thumbs up on this video, that would be very, very much appreciated. Helps people find us in the algorithm. You have no idea how much that helps, actually. It really, really does help views, boost the views. If you're listening in audio form, please leave a 5-star review wherever you listen. We would appreciate it. But we're at our main event, and I gotta say the main event was technically not the main event because we get an overrun from our EVP. So don't tune out of the Mark Order podcast right after we talk about the main event because it is not actually done. But we get what was a hell of a match between Brody King and Adam Copeland. I fully understand that Malachi Black is the leader of this faction. I love Brody King, and if anybody's going to win a title in this trio, I want it to be him. Adam Copeland made him look great tonight. There were so many times he was in peril, and he just did stuff out of desperation that paid off. Really, really smart wrestling from Adam Copeland in this. He plays babyface in peril really well for someone who was the rated R superstar for most of his career. This is a very, very fun run for him. I can't believe we're getting it at the age he's at, that we're getting these match lanes. And I don't want to bring up CM Punk's name here, but if what they wanted was a ratings draw veteran presence that will go out there and put on matches like this, they have that with Adam Copeland. If they were looking for someone to fill that role, I'm not saying he scales up the ratings as much as CM Punk, but he is a ratings draw. If you look at the quarterlies, which I never do, but I do know some of the names that are associated with them, and you're looking for a veteran who's going to carry a cachet that's going to make everybody look really good in the process, is going to give you some banger matches like we got tonight. This is kicking ass. So we get a spear through the table at the end of this, and Adam Copeland desperately crawling toward Brody. They side on adjacent sides, and we get another spear from Copeland. I love that it took him a spear through the table and a follow-up to put him away. If you want to talk spots, this is a match that has a lot of them. The cannonballs in the corner from Brody look nasty every time. Really fun move where Copeland just let his own body weight out of desperation again carry Brody over so that Brody was taking the punishment on this. He does not move like a 50-year-old man. It is really impressive what he is doing in this. The DDT on the chair was incredible. He is not shying away from that neck. The story of this was Brody saying, I'm going to attack your neck, motherfucker. I loved it. Really, really fun way to close out the show. This was 1825. Feel like you could have told this story in 12 minutes and thrown 5 minutes either at the overrun or earlier in that Rocky match with Jay. But if that's what I'm complaining about, it's not like this match felt long. I just felt like other spots on the show could have used it. Really, really, really fun, really bloody, really nasty. This was a fun way to go home. What were your thoughts on our main event here? I thought it was a ball.
Yeah, when it comes to Adam Copeland, I thought I knew him, but then he goes out and still delivers these matches, and I love seeing the sadistic side of him, of where he can go to these more bloody, violent places still in his career. And then, like what you said, every time I see Brody King, I look at him and I think, there's a guy that they can't miss and waste him by not putting gold on him. Much like we were talking about earlier about like guys like Ethan Page and others like who were solid, and we thought they should elevate them as single stars, and they never quite did. Brody King is one of those guys that they definitely should.
I do feel like they have time with him though, which I think is good. Like, it can be a transitional reign and it doesn't have to be immediate, because he's doing great stuff whenever he's in roles like this. He's great in trios matches, and he also has like that valet role with Julia. So I feel like he's appropriately being paced to that. But to your point, like, don't mess with this guy because he is something special, and it shows out in situations like tonight.
He should easily be a TNT champion at the very least.
Yeah.
But you were talking about the length of the match. I agree with you that it felt a little long. They could have shaved some minutes off because it felt like the ending they're kind of stumbling around, groggy, kind of out of it, and all of a sudden, like this, spear out of nowhere ends it. And it just felt very kind of like rushed at the end. But otherwise, no complaints. I'm looking forward to seeing now. I guess Copeland will face Malachi at some point now at Double or Nothing or whatever.
Yeah, that feels like probably at the pay-per-view. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. And the post-match, we get Copeland and Kyle O'Reilly being set up for Collision. And I loved this because Kyle O'Reilly says, hey, you know what? I came in and I helped you at the end of this. I would love a payback in the form of a title shot in my hometown. And Adam Copeland goes, that's your plan all along, wasn't it? I respect it. Sure, let's do it. And I love that. I love that he saw right through his shit, but like was like, I am familiar with your game, sir. That has been my game in the past. Let's do it. And I love that Kyle O'Reilly, after losing the international title shot, is going for another title. Like, he's being made to be kept important here. So that is super fun. And we already talked about the Mercedes vignette, but just a couple things to add into it. She talks about how she's going to be courtside at the Celtics game. She's going to be throwing out the first pitch for the Red Sox. And when she's not promoting AEW, she's in the gym every day. So I just like that they reiterated her like pop culture value a little bit in this, because it is something that makes her a little bit more distinct from some other people on the roster. But she says she's going to show Willow why there's an asterisk over her victory and wipe that stupid little smile off her face. So what did you think of the Kyle O'Reilly setup, and anything else you wanted to add on to the Mercedes Moné part of our women's feud there?
The Kyle O'Reilly setup, I didn't think it was going that direction as far as the match this weekend. I thought maybe just, a part of the storyline with him in House of Black more than anything. But I'm all for seeing Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Copeland wrestling for 20 minutes. I think that would be great.
Especially the way Kyle sells for some of the stuff that Adam is doing on this run. I think it's so much fun.
Tell me there's going to be a lot of near falls, and then Copeland will win, at the very end. But yeah, and then the Mercedes stuff, like you said, the call and response was great. I think it very much gives fans a clear picture of which team you want to be on. Like, do you want the Willow character, or do you want the glitz and glamour pop culture icon, a face of AEW type of persona?
But with some bite, right? Like, that's what I like about it. She's got some bite to her. It's not all smiling rainbows. Yeah.
I like the stark contrast between the two. At the core of it, they're both they both have that hunger to want to be a champion. But outside of that, like just them everyday life, they're just so much different. And I think that's really unique.
And very different in the ring too. So I'm like, you've got the Babe with the power, and then you have Mercedes, who's more opportunistic and a little bit more traditional in her wrestling. Though some of her New Japan stuff, though it was brief, you saw some flashes of some really cool stuff. That new finisher absolutely rules. But that's the show. Oh wait, no, it's not. We go back to the ring and the douche nozzles that are the Young Bucks. They come out in these ridiculous outfits. They talk about how they got this overrun from the network. We have not had an umbrella story in AEW before in this way, where there are multiple things being affected by it. We've had things that were through lines through the show, like Max and Adam Cole having that buddy cop relationship. We've had team versus team things, but not this umbrella thing where so many different things are affected by these takeover EVPs. They come out with Jack Perry and Okada has a note for Kenny. He says that the best bout machine says get well soon. Mwah. And Matt has some words for Tony Khan as well in this. He just hopes that he feels better and wants him to know that they're there to make it a better place. Tony Khan is the best boss that they ever had. But he had to give him a Tony Khan driver, and he had to give Omega an EVP trigger. And for FTR, if they want anarchy, that's what they're going to get. So good luck finding two other people with balls big enough to face the Elite. And FTR says, hey, there are some monstrous balls on this roster. The biggest balls. Medically concerning balls. All right, out here. So he reveals that two people on his side are going to be Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston. Now, a lot of people were saying the Motor City Machine Guns. I would have hated that because Team AEW should have some Team AEW people on it. Eddie feels as day one as ever. When he came out, I was assuming it would be Mox because of their tag run, because Mox is has been the guy in situations where this company was desperate for him. But I do like it being Bryan Danielson, especially while Mox has the IWGP title. I'm wondering if Anarchy in the Arena, because they don't always do this logically. A lot of times we get blow-offs that then get followed up by other blow-offs. So I wonder if they both add someone on each side. Mox joins that. They grab somebody else. Maybe Hangman Adam Page. I don't know. But I liked this idea that Alex Pulaski at Fight Club had brought up of you have All In and All Out back-to-back. You never have a build to All Out because of that. That match just anchoring that card as like a blood and guts or something sells you on the pay-per-view as is. And then you don't have to worry about what the rest of the build kind of looks like because it's kind of dominated by this one event and it has so many faves in it. So I really liked that idea. I thought that was really clever fantasy booking of like, you have these back-to-back things. How do you make that one thing feel like I want to buy a ticket for it immediately? You have the rematch there and you add an extra guy on each side. Anarchy in the Arena and Blood and Guts are a little bit similar, so I don't know if that works, but we're getting this at Double or Nothing. This is approached faster than I thought it would. I like that about it. I'm not mad that it's not stalling because we've seen slow pacing on a lot of these, but it does make me think it's unfinished at that point. Like people are going to come back into the fold. What do you think of our teams here? What did you think of these assholes and their overrun?
They're playing their EVP controlling of the show well. I mean, we still have the EVP, the Elite Dynamite open still. You know, they're making all the decisions, taking up time. It's great. They couldn't have planned or played these characters even better. So what they're doing is maybe their best heel work in their career. I think it's weird that Jack Perry is almost playing their heavy. He's almost like
kind of is.
He's like, go out, guys, and Okada's polished now. He's not going to do it. So Jack Perry just kind of their little gopher as far as taking out guys. The teams announced for Anarchy in the Arena, like I said, the FTR made sense. Eddie Kingston made sense because he had issues with them early on when they were pulling this whole EVP stuff. Danielson, I want to hear a little bit more about why he's involved or kind of what his his beef is with the Young Bucks and the Elite, or if it's just purely just I've seen
Okada, right? You've got the
Yeah.
Daniels and Okada existing feud that is going to need a trilogy completion at some point.
So that makes sense, yeah. I will probably get a digital video package somewhere along the line. But I'm in agreement. This is definitely a precursor to a blood and guts match. I think having Anarchy in the Arena plays to the Elite's strength as far as doing some goofy shit. They can get away with some stuff in the arena. Where blood and guts, I feel like, would play more to the strengths of your team AEW, your brawlers, your people who want to keep you in a cage and beat the living piss out of you. I think that will play better to their strengths, and that'll be the payoff.
I'm intrigued to see who shows up on the Elite side. Hangman feels a little bit too much like a lone wolf to show up there. The chat is saying Wheeler Yuta, which would be a fun way to break him off. But I also feel like that side needs a heavy. Like that side needs, because what if you get Mox or Claudio on that side, like you have Jack Perry and the Young Bucks and Okada. Like if it wasn't Hobbs, maybe Takeshita. Oh, that'd be nasty work. But if Hobbs wasn't injured, I would have said Hobbs of being just like that wrecking crew guy. But I also feel like I am excited to see the story that leads us there. Like, I'm not like, who is it? There's nobody that makes sense. I'm like, who are they going to find? Maybe it's someone that's not in the company. There's so many possibilities.
Yeah, I like, A-Shock mentioned Brian Cage. It would, I mean, you never know. It sounded like the Elite brokered the deal for the Mobile Embassy to help take out Swerve tonight. So you never know.
Sure. McFowle was saying, Takeshita in the Elite, sign me up. I don't want him in the Elite, but I want him as a hired gun. Because what the fuck is the family doing for him, right? Like, yeah, sure, I'll come in and wreck some shit. And Takeshita versus everybody on the other side. Yeah, I want all of that. And I also think we might see an Eddie Kingston heel turn along the way in this. Like, I don't know if there's coexisting issues, but like him losing both titles, inevitably losing the strong one, I think you're going to see him start to have to rebuild a little bit. But man, I think.
Oh, okay, frozen a little bit there.
Am I back?
There you are.
Hey,
Yep.
we made it. We made it. But
People are calling Samoa Joe. I don't know if Samoa Joe and the Elite would jive.
No, yeah, because the thing with Joe is, even though he's a heel, he's not that type of heel. Like, he so stands on his shit. And I don't think he would get along with those guys.
You have to get like
feel that way. And he feels kind of Team AEW-y, like from a character perspective. Like, had their title and carried the ROH title for a long time, but we'll see.
you need like main event mafia Samoa Joe. And Kate's spinning, and Kate's gone. We'll see if she pops back in here in a minute. So, throw out some other names. Who else could be on the Elite's team or Team AEW? Let's see here. Lieutenant Colonel Photo, the Elite can lose this type of match. They can, but I think they can win it. And I think it makes it better if they win it. Ooh. Kate versus Internet. We all know who wins that. And it looks like she got booted off. So she'll be right back. Let's see who we have. Jesse. Who we have here? Miro would be good if he's healthy. Ooh. Motion machine guns. Man, this is good. Oh, I'm catching the glitchy stuff now too. Great. Case Internet's affecting me now. Awesome. I am so sorry, guys. we'll see if she comes back real quick and all will be well. I did blame Kate for giving me COVID, even though I'm miles and hundreds of miles away. She is still taking her time. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in tonight and for joining us in the chat and our spy internet. Appreciate that. Claudio is a hired gun for the elite. I don't see that with him and Danielson. They don't have any issues. I don't understand why he would do that against Danielson. Scott George. That's true. It's true. It's a plague. There's not a vaccine developed that can handle that.
I'm so sorry. That was so weird. That happened to me the other day where StreamYard booted me. It wasn't even my internet. So.
Oh, well, then when you left, my stream started to lag, and I apparently caught Kate's internet chlamydia.
Oh no! It is streamually transmitted. So my apologies. That's the second time that happened this week where it's a StreamYard issue and not an internet issue. So my apologies for getting booted there, but we're back basically just to wrap this up. So that was the episode of AEW Dynamite tonight. I thought it was a hoot and a holler the way it went off air, but kind of an average episode, but nothing too egregious. We laughed, we cried, we had fun. Adam Copeland bled like a maniac. We're all here for it. So Joe, before we get out of here, we're going to ask people one more time to leave a thumbs up on this video. And we are going to remind you that you can get t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. Mark order t-shirts specifically. Maybe we'll freshen up the designs. We'll see if there's anything else that we want to do. But right now we have 4 incredible designs, 2 double-sided that you can get at ProWrestlingTees.com. They have a flash sale going on. Joe won't show you his boobs about it, but that's okay. He's all normal and classy. So I almost saw a net, but feel free to take advantage of the flash dance sale. And we appreciate any support that you're able to give us and however you're able to show it. But before we get out of here, I did just want to say, Joe, Asian Joe, @_Asian Joe, why don't you tell the good people where they can find you?
Well, other than here on Wednesday nights, I will be back here again on Saturday nights for Collision for our Collider cast. So it should be Ryan and I, and we'll join us for our watch along Collision. Finally, I feel like it's been yo-yoing because of the playoffs. Yeah. But we'll be on for 2 hours of Collision. We're not going to do the Rampage that's tacked on because nobody got time for that. So join us Saturday nights for Collision for Collider cast. Other than that, on social media @_Asian Joe. And in my bio, there are a link to my serial review blog. So feel free to read that. My last one was, I don't know, a month or so ago when I did the If AEW Wrestlers Were Serial. So if you haven't read that, go back there and peruse it.
Yeah, I should tweet that out because that is a fun one. But also, Tony Khan announced that Dynamite Kid Tommy Billington versus Dax Harwood is taking place on Collision. That is absolutely freaking bonkers. So that should be fun for that Collider cast watch along. So support the lads on Saturday. I'm not usually able to make that, but if I can, I'll pop on from time to time. But you can follow me @Miss Kate Fabe on social media. You can catch me on Fightful Select Mondays and Saturdays with a Collision post show and a Raw post show. And then on the main channel Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday talking NXT, ROH, and SmackDown. Wednesdays here at the Mark Order Podcast and Excite Wrestling doing commentary on May 11th this weekend, 2 days from now. I should probably get my shit together about that, but twitch.tv Excite Wrestling. You check us out there. But thank you so much for joining the Mark Order. Hopefully Ryan won't be back next week. Hopefully Ryan will be back next week, but catch him on Saturday. Some good times to be had on the Collider Cast, but we're going to get out of here. Have a safe and wonderful rest of your wrestling week.
I'll be like, Ryan, here's the overlay for the outro. Music. There's my outro music. There it is.
This concludes the Mark Order podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.